Paris, 1874, La Belle Époque, a world of glitz and glamour, but within this city of lights we meet a woman only known as Madame X, and her life's descent into a living nightmare. So yeah, today we're talking about the elusive Madame X, and the very strange and macabre delusion of you being very undead. Undead? Shouldn't that be alive? Either way, you thought you were a walking corpse, without the minor inconvenience of actually being dearly departed, of course. Let's get into it.
Morbid history.
First off, to understand the tale of Madame X, we need to understand the world of the 18th century. Paris was the heart of cutting-edge medical research, especially in the fields of psychology and neurology. Back then, asylums and hospitals were both feared and revered. They weren't exactly gentle with their patients, but they were the most brilliant minds there, trying to solve the puzzles of human madness. And there is where our main character here comes in, only known as Madame X, and she became one of the most notable case studies of the time. Here was a woman 46 years of age who was by all accounts well-to-do, and yet she wandered the streets of Paris, imploring everyone she met to just come to the conclusion and acknowledge that she was indeed demised. And of course, every such haunting needs its ghost hunter, and for Madame X, this came in the form of Dr. Jules Cotard, a man who took her in, asked the important questions, and would later give name to this walking corpse phenomena, Cotard Syndrome. Now, Madame X's delusion was no passing casual thought. Her entire life started revolving around proving that she indeed had shuffled off this mortal coil. So, how did this happen? Important information. Well, Madame X says that one day at home she suffered some weird sensation. It felt like a lightning bolt went through her body from the inside, which then split her body in half along the spine. And from there, she thought that she was dead. She had died then and there. But not only that, she claimed that she was decomposing and lacking in some essentials, brain, nerves, and her guts, for example. She also believed that she was now immortal, or she could not pass on from natural causes because she was already demised, and if you're dead, you can't do it again. The only way she thought to turn her over into eternity was to burn her body alive, which she then went ahead and tried to do herself on several occasions, but she did not succeed. Either way, she wasn't immobile or bedridden, she was the world's most active corpse. So, Cotard Syndrome, or the walking corpse syndrome, is a condition that really challenges our understanding of reality and identity. Patients with Cotard suffer from extreme nihilistic delusion, convinced that they're either demised, decomposing, or utterly soulless. They're missing limbs, or their limbs are not their own, or that their insides and blood has dried up. It's thought that it might be the result of disruptions in the part of the brain that's responsible for self-perception. And this means that the person becomes unable to emotionally or physically connect with their own bodies. In modern time, scientists have come forward with a suggestion that Cotard may involve trauma or injury, or something has happened to the parts of the brain that manages sensory processing and emotional awareness, such as the fusiform gyrus and the amygdala. So, when Madame X saw a corpse in her mirror, it was both a trick of her mind and a terrible real experience for her. So, there she was in the 1800 Paris, Madame X, trying to force everyone into accepting her truth. What were the treatments available at the time? Mostly opiates, sedatives, and some early type of talk therapy. Sadly, that did not work at all on our dear Madame X. She instead asked the doctor to embalm her, as if that would ease her suffering a little. We don't actually know that much about this elusive madam, since Jules actually tried to keep her kinda secret, give her some anonymity, keep her anonymous, and I can totally respect that. Some accounts state that she lived her final years in an asylum where she sadly starved to death, still totally convinced that she was indeed already demised. And as thus, she moved on into the beyond. But of course, this walking corpse syndrome did not start with our tragic Madame X. To learn more about one of them, we need to travel way back to the 1600s, where Dutch Dr. Petrus Forestus met a chilling case of Cotard Syndrome, or at least something like it. Dr. Forestus was a skilled physician, but even he was puzzled when he was faced with a melancholic patient that was, very much like Madame X, decidedly demised in his own mind. He refused to eat because, as we said, food was only for the living, but desperate to help, Dr. Forestus devised a bold scheme. At the hospital, he found a willing accomplice whom he put into a coffin to pretend to be dead also. The corpse, pale as a ghost and solemn as a stone, played his role perfectly. And that is when he went ahead and picked up the melancholy patient and brought him to the pretend corpse, who lay there rigidly and corpsey. The doctor went ahead and served the pretend corpse some meat, to which the patient was shocked. So he asked the corpse, "Do the dead eat meat?" To which the man in the coffin said, "Yea, we do," and started eating with gusto. Seeing this fellow dead man eating such a hearty meal convinced the patient that he too could partake, and began eating. With this macabre and theatrical solution, Dr. Forestus managed to restore the man's faith in his own body and snapped him out of that delusion, returning him to the world of the living. And today, in modern time, there has been around 200 confirmed cases of Cotard Syndrome popping up all around the world. And one such case was a man from Scotland who in the 90s suffered a catastrophic head injury after a motorcycle accident. And that left him feeling rather unusual, which isn't shocking in itself, of course. But after a while, his mother took him to South Africa, maybe to get some clarity into his unusual behavior. But when he arrived, he felt certain that he had ended up in hell. He also thought that his mother, who was clearly there, was actually just her soul and spirit guiding him around hell, Dante's Inferno style, and that her real body was actually still in Scotland sleeping. He took the warm climate of South Africa as a sign that it was indeed true. Luckily, these modern cases have some more effective treatments, such as antidepressants, antipsychotics, and also electroconvulsive therapy. Why are words so hard? And there's that. Like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Yay! Other than that, thanks to my lovely YouTube members, my Patreon members. You mean the world. It's thanks to you I'm able to do this. Amazing. Thanks. Mwah. Stay amazing, stay hydrated, and most of all, stay morbid, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!